Hello, it's the F and Nerd Show, and today we're talking about a bunch of gay movies. That's right. It's Pride Month, and I just decided I've watched a couple of gay movies recently, and I'm gonna tell you about why they're gay, and also just tell you about them, so because you should watch them probably. Uh, I thought this would be interesting for me to talk about, especially because I enjoy flamboyant bombast, but also I don't know if I don't know if I should feel obligated to express my sexual orientation in any of my videos. But I guess I'm going to. I don't. I'm not really a gay person. Like I said, I do enjoy flamboyant bombast to the ultimate degree, and I enjoy many great gay filmmakers and LGBTQ, all this. But I'm also, as a person, I don't really think I haven't really engaged much in I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know. Like I said, I like some gay filmmakers. I like some movies that have gay things in them. But I myself, I'm not gay. I'm pretty straight. But also, I don't think I have that many hangups about it. I think about like I always like to say, if right now Ryan Gosling or Brad Pitt or Ryan Reynolds or Chris Pine or Chris Hemsworth or basically any Ryan or Chris in Hollywood, if they just came by, knocked at my door, or Brad's, and if they came by, knocked at my door, and said, and they took their pants off, they were like, "You want it?" You think I'm gonna say no? No. Why would I say no? For one, there's so many women on this planet, women and gay people on this planet that would die, literally die. They would combust and explode at the chance of having a chance with any of these people. Why would I say no? And then you're thinking, okay, well, wait. So what? So does it just gotta be a pretty guy? I don't know. I haven't thought that hard about it. If a random pretty guy knocked at my door and was like, took, and then was like, "You want it?" I might be like, I guess it depends on how pretty he is, but I don't think so. Right now, my impulse, as I am feeling it in my body, I don't think so. But also, if you said it was Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling, yeah, Ryan Gosling's better. If you said it was Ryan Gosling, my interest level just went up about probably five. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? But if it wasn't Ryan Gosling, I don't really give a flip. Whatever. Anyway, point is, I thought since I consider myself pretty straight, despite what you've heard so far, I think I should try to dissect a couple of these movies. And there's one movie, a classic, that you may or may not know is supremely gay. And we're going to get into that here shortly. But first, the first movie I wanted to talk about today was Drive Away Dolls. This movie came out in, oh my god, February of this year, and we're in June. I guess it's around right, I guess. The reason I'm so shocked is because I got this movie at the library, found this on the shelf at the library, and I was like, this is out on a physical platform already? And that's just another issue when it comes to the fast turnover of movies these days. I'm sorry. It's looking bleak. It's great for me because I get to watch movies really fast. The first two movies I'm talking about today is Drive Away Dolls and Challengers. Stinking, how did I get to see these movies so fast? Usually, I remember when it took months, like 6 months, for it to get on Blu-ray or DVD, and now I'm just seeing them a couple months later, weeks. And the fact that I saw it at the library merely means it was available before I saw it at the library. So I don't even know how long it took for it to get immediately on DVD. I digress. Anyway, Drive Away Dolls, directed by Ethan Coen. It's his first movie post Coen Brothers breakup. It has Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanathan. Viswanathan. And Margaret Qualley, I loved her from The Leftovers mostly, but also she's been popping up a lot in, like she was in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was in Poor Things recently with Emma Stone. She's been sort of absorbing these minor roles in a lot of these. She's in The Nice Guys. I love The Nice Guys. I love Margaret Qualley. I've been basically kind of following her career because of The Leftovers, and this is probably her best performance. I'll get to that in a little bit. And Geraldine Viswanathan, I like her from Miracle Workers with Daniel Radcliffe and Steve Buscemi on TBS. That show, underrated. incredibly funny, incredibly weird, so British. I don't know if it's British, but it feels British. Anyway, Coleman Domingo, Beanie Feldstein, Pedro Pascal, big old cast in this movie. I'm going to spoil. I'm going to say this only because I think this might be a breaking point for some people. Miley Cyrus is in this movie in a very strange role. That's all I'm going to say about that. If I didn't say that, you might not have looked at it. So I'm telling you now. Anyway, so Ethan Cohen directed this movie. First one, post effing Cohen brothers. It's about two lesbians, two very proud lesbians. I don't know if the other one's proud, but Margaret Qualley's character, very proud lesbian, and they have to go to Tallahassee, Florida. And little do they know, there's a suitcase full of something very valuable inside of their trunk. So what I like about this movie is it is a pure throwback to the old Coen Brothers, 90s Coen Brothers movies. The weird, crazy, strange, just hippy dippy, chill. I don't know, strange, like old school strange Coen Brothers, not the artsy fartsy hoity toity Coen Brothers. And I think it's very telling when the Coen Brothers split. Ethan Cohen made this, and then Joel Cohen made like uh the Tragedy of Macbeth with Denzel Washington. It's like okay, hoity. So we see who the hoity toity is, and we see who the playful crazy person is. Also, Ethan Cohen edited Evil Dead, which is just something I love to think about because it's just even crazy. Okay, so now I'm looking at this. He co-wrote this movie with his wife Trisha Cook, and Trisha Cook edited the movie, which I thought the movie was edited really interestingly, and I thought Ethan might have edited it, but no, it's his wife, which is even better. So yes, so this movie, I don't know. I don't think Ethan Cohen is a lesbian, but is Trisha Cook? Not that it matters. But this movie is so pointedly about lesbians. Like Margaret Qualley's character is like a super proud lesbian to the point of like anytime they go to a different town, it's like a road trip movie where she and her friend have to go. I already mentioned that. Anyway, anytime they go to a different town, she's looking for like gay supported clubs or gay supported brands or all this stuff, which is weird. And her friend is like, I don't know if she is repressed. Maybe she is. She's definitely more uptight compared to Margaret Qualley's character, but she is definitely like way more bound up, while Margaret Qualley is very loose. And what I love about Margaret Qualley's character is she is like Nicolas Cage in like Raising Arizona, or this movie I think of, I don't know if anybody's seen, called Amos and Andrew, where but just as a lesbian, like just loud, obnoxious. Also a little bit of Holly Hunter in there. Also a little bit of Holly Hunter. And it's just so weird. This is literally the strangest I've ever seen Margaret Qualley ever be ever. Even like in Poor Things, she was pretty strange. But that's still kind of small thing. This movie, she is like the most different I've ever seen her. Geraldine Viswanathan, she's great too. She What's interesting is with her is in Miracle Workers, she is a little bit more of the loose cannon in comparison to like a Daniel Radcliffe. Daniel Radcliffe was usually like the straight edge person. And she had like the crazy fun ideas. So it's especially strange with Margaret Qualley. Like she's a little bit more straight laced in other movies, but in this movie she gets to be wild. And then Geraldine, she gets to be more buttoned up. And so it's like a switcheroo in a sense, which I think was interesting. Beanie Feldstein, she is very funny in the movie. She's Margaret Qualley's ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, and she's very funny. I don't know. Coleman Domingo's in it. Coleman Domingo's gay. There's a lot of gay people in this movie. I don't know. And gay themes. But actually the movie is about sexuality. And I think that's something that's interesting. Because if you look at the spoilers, now we're in the spoilers for Driveway Dolls. Sorry. It's hard to talk about that much without some spoilers. So, spoilers ahead. Inside the trunk, they don't know it, but it's dildos of very high level people in government. I guess in Florida or in general, I don't know. And I thought it was gonna be money or something, But the fact that it was dildos was very interesting, and obviously on purpose. Matt Damon is the senator. He's kind of like a Republican senator, and he doesn't like the fact that there's a mold cast of his ween being taken across state lines. So that's interesting. I like that. It's like, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't really engage with a lot of I don't know, with a lot of sexual movies. And I don't know how to talk about it in a way that makes sense at all. Anyway, what I like about the movie, at the end, I think there's something like they were tied up, they were held hostage by Matt Damon's men, I guess. And I think because one of the men was accusing the other one of the men of using one of the dildos, one of them kills the other guys and then runs away in the hopes that maybe they don't learn that he, I don't know, is either gay or likes playing with his butt or something. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. There's a scene earlier in the movie where Geraldine's character, when she was young, she was jumping on a trampoline in her backyard, trying to get a glimpse of like the naked older lady and neighbor and who was sunbathing in their backyard next door. And there's one part where her as a little girl, she goes to a fence and she puts a hole in it so she could peep on the lady. And there's this one great shot where it has like the naked lady who, like, what I like about it is it wasn't like the most flattering like angle either for like the lady. It was just like side view, scrunched up a little bit, getting out of the pool, still with a little bit of the weight, from getting out of the pool that you have on you a little bit. She still looked nice, and she was naked, and it was like, oh my god. And then it pans over from her, and then she glances over at her husband, who's like schlubby and like hairy and large, and just like, it's not to say like that's unattractive or anything, but what I liked about how that shot was because it was just like, look at this gorgeousness, and then look at that schlub. Uh, and what I think what's interesting about that also is like I said, Ethan Cohen, not a lesbian, but stinking, he's attracted to women. So just that sort of like the male, like I don't want to call it male gaziness, but no matter what, it's called male gaze, I guess. But the gaziness of it in general, of just like pretty lady, schlubby guy, and what that the metaphor of like this sort of sexual awakening for her character at that age, is interesting, and the idea of these senators, or the senator doesn't want anybody to know about the dildo cast thing. I think it might have been because like a stripper did it, and she got high profile casts of dildos, and she was gonna like use it to make a bunch of money off of them or something. But just the idea of like even Republican senators or Republican people in general, maybe the sexual repression, and how even if a glimpse of that is uh, looked at or scrutinized in any way, how that can ruin that sort of thing. And I don't know if this is trying to make a distinction between like how men and women are dealing with sexuality in all its complicated different ways, but I do like, you know, all the different dichotomies. Margaret Qualley's character is so lesbian and so proud of being a lesbian that she just, she has an issue. I don't even want to say she has an issue to like trying to keep quiet about it. I think I don't think she does anything on purpose. She's just brash, and she doesn't really change herself based on the room she's in. And some people like that, and some people don't. Especially, they make a big deal about going through southern states in the movie. And I live in a southern state, and the vibe is there. Just like you can't. It's just interesting, very interesting. I like the whole thing about it. I love most about it is like, oh, it's Miley Cyrus. Never mind. All right, but what I like most about it is uh it's dealing with those themes, but it's also just a very simple, super cheap. Like the movie doesn't look that expensive, but it still has so much creativity behind like the colors and the filmmaking and all this. I love it. So good, so great, and it feels like an old school Ethan Cohen, old school Cohen brothers movie. It feels like The Big Lebowski mixed with I haven't seen Thelma and Louise, but just the idea of like two ladies who are lovers driving cross country. It's like those two mixed together. And it's so throwbacky. Like it literally, if the only thing about it is the fact that it is so lesbian and gay focused that besides that point, if it came out in the 90s, it would be indistinguishable. You'd be like, oh, this is definitely a 90s movie. So that's what I liked about it. Next up, I am talking about Challengers, the Zendaya threesome movie that everybody was all the rage about. Zendaya's on her prime right now after Dune, and in this time around, she's playing tennis, but more emotional tennis with two other men, and it's very interesting. Challengers is a Luca Guadagnino joint. Luca Guadagnino. Uh, I haven't seen any of this. Is his first movie of his I've seen. I do know he is a big deal though. He made. I'm trying to find what else he made. I know he made Bones and All. Is that what that was called? The cannibal movie. And he also made that one movie with Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet. Call Me by Your Name and Suspiria. I wanted to see that movie, his Suspiria movie. So there's movies I want to see of this guy. Challengers, it's about these tennis players who fall in love with Zendaya, and then Zendaya pits them against each other for life in a way. This movie is interesting. So it's about tennis, and I kind of like movies that are about something completely specific and obscure that I would have no idea what it is about in any other form, were it not for this movie spending a little bit of time explaining it to me. I don't understand tennis. I don't know tennis. I don't need to know tennis. All I needed was a good score by Nine Inch Nails and also just great shots of balls flying through the air. Anyway, this movie, I, I guess I'm gonna spoil it a little bit, but there's not really too much to spoil. Anything you would wonder is probably in the trailer. You're like, ooh, they sit on the bed and they start to. She's making out with both of them, and then I think maybe in the trailer you might be wondering, okay, and this is probably the question for a lot of people when it comes to something like this, like a threesome situation. It's like, well, how much do you gotta get involved with the other person? So you probably might be thinking, Zendaya's kissing both of them. What's gonna happen? But you're not thinking about, are the guys gonna be smooching? And well, they do be smooching. This movie is about beyond tennis relationships between, I guess, men and women, but I guess mostly men. This movie, I was wondering how gay this movie was going to be considered. Is it I don't know. I don't know. Like, yeah, the guys smooch, but they throughout the movie are never really together. They both are pining over Zendaya throughout the whole movie. But also, I think maybe the themes of the movie speak against that. Zendaya in the movie early on, she says, tennis is like a relationship. And you guys aren't really playing tennis. Or, well, she wasn't saying they weren't playing tennis, but she was saying very few times do people actually play tennis when it's like they're completely vibing. It's like they know, like, I guess it's like having sex in a way. Is like just being able to sense where the other one's going and just knowing where it's at and just keeping at it. And I love throughout the movie, it's non-linear. It does a bunch of flash forwards, flashbacks, all this jazz. But throughout the movie, it goes into the crowd, and Zendaya is sitting there watching the two boys play tennis, and the crowd is invested, but she is not. And she's not really invested until towards the end of the movie, when things start getting a little real. When she is more actually involved, I think. Anyway, I think clearly this movie is trying to make a statement about I don't know, male friendships or relationships or like how men uh, like women now I'm not trying to make generalizations. I'm trying to find a way of breaking this down. Basically, I think there's like a theme about guy friendships versus guy relationships and how this works. Sometimes I do hear about like a criticism that women post online, maybe in like memes and stuff at the very least, about the idea of like, oh well, men really just want to date their boyfriend or their boyfriends. They want to date their friends. I don't know. For some reason they don't. Like I feel like a lot of, or I don't want to say a lot, but in some cultural zeitgeisty things, the idea is like women hate the idea, or some women are like, why do you spend so much time with your boys? And there's also this whole thing about like boys' night tonight or Saturdays for the boys, like this whole idea. Throughout the movie with these two characters, Josh O'Connor and Mike Face, but since they're not that famous, I'm going to use their character names. See, that's how I do it. Patrick Swig and Art Donaldson. I'll say Patrick and Art. So the two guys, Patrick and Art, they are in school, I think college, or might have been going high school, going to college or something like that. But anyway, they play tennis, high level tennis. Art likes it, but he's not like, I just love tennis. Patrick is tennis, but he doesn't try that hard about tennis either. And Tashi, played by Zendaya, is all tennis all the time. There's even moments like so basically at first it starts out as a rival. It's always a rivalry between Art and Patrick over Zendaya. And there's two scenes when it's Art and Zendaya and Patrick and Zendaya, and they're like kissing or making out, and they're like, "Can we not talk about tennis?" And they're just like, "We're always talking about tennis." For Zendaya's character Tashi, tennis is all she wants to be tennis, but she can't because she gets into like a serious injury early in her career, and so she has to pretty much heavily rely on one of these boys to sort of live her dreams for her. Like she has to live them through them. And unfortunately, she does that to Art, who is the least interested in trying to do tennis like this. Patrick, he's cocky. uh, to the point of like he's so good at tennis, he's too much of a natural. He feels like he's above having to compete in some ways. Art, he's good, but he has to work at it. He has to really work at it hard, and he's just tired of having to do it. But Patrick, he'll always do it, but he doesn't have to try that hard. I think there's something into that that's very interesting, especially in male friendships and male friend groups. The idea of like one guy just naturally gets all the ladies or gets all the whatever, and the other guy has to try really really hard, and it almost never works out. I think that's an interesting dichotomy, and something that I think is just very real, perhaps in all friend groups, especially in male relationships, uh, especially when it comes to two guys pining over one girl. So this is something that also brings me to an interesting idea. So in the movie, Art is more against any sort of gay idea of doing anything with Patrick, but Patrick, he doesn't have as many hangups about it, I guess. Or he is gay. I don't know yet. And the reason I say that is because, so the first time is when Zendaya is asking questions about basically if they two had done anything gay together ever, Patrick is basically quick to bring it up because maybe I think I think he thinks if he brought it up, it would get him closer to doing something with Zendaya at all. And then later, in the future, when Patrick is swiping on through Bumble, uh, there's a part where he stops at a guy, he stops and thinks about it, and then he likes him. And at first, I was thinking, is he scared of thinking? Is he scared of liking a guy on Bumble? But now I'm thinking, well, actually, he's thinking. Well, you find out later in the movie when he does match with somebody on Bumble and he goes on a date. He goes out for a drink. He's basically trying to stay the night at their house because he doesn't. He's sleeping in his car this whole time at this tennis event. So that means that he's probably willing to be gay in the hopes of meeting whatever end goal he is trying to reach. If that makes sense, I don't know. But I think that's an interesting idea that I just thought of. I don't know. Where else am I going with this? Okay. Oh yeah. So this movie also reminds me of the movie Savages by Oliver Stone with Aaron Taylor Johnson, Taylor Kitsch, and my crush Ryan Reynolds' wife. That her name is. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. No. I love her. I can't believe I just based on the name of effing Blake Lively. Yes, I got it. Blake Lively. Blake Lively, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Taylor Kitsch, Savages. That movie is. I always wanted it to be better than it was, but it's not that good. But this is great scene, and it's a similar dynamic. But actually, very different dynamic. Taylor Kitsch and Aaron Taylor Johnson in that movie, they are in a three-way relationship where it's basically they are both in love with they are do things with the girl, but they themselves are just friends. They're just best friends, and they're just like, yeah, we just share that girl. Selma Hayek is the villain of that movie, and in that movie, she says, she kidnaps Blake Lively. By the way, that's the only way this makes sense. Blake Lively, and she tells Blake Lively, they love each other way more than you because they share you. They have to love each other so much to agree to share you. Basically, is what she says in that movie. And I think this movie plays with that idea, but does something different. Like the idea of like, well, what does it mean if two guys are like pining over the same girl and like competing to try to get with that girl? What does it mean? It doesn't mean they actually want that girl, or do they actually kind of want each other? Like, would they have as much interest if it wasn't, end all be all stakes with somebody else that they already, know and love and, value or whatever? It's just an interesting idea. And also it's most definitely gay. These two guys are effing throwing balls at each other. They're just balls in each other's face throughout the entire movie. There's shots in the movie where it's like, my God, 3D balls in the face, balls. My God, all these effing tennis balls. Chill the fudge out. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting idea. Let's see. Yeah, I like Challengers. I thought it was good. I haven't seen Call Me by Your Name. I know that's super gay, so I think it stands to reason that there's some gayness in this movie. I mean, there's literally two men kissing in this movie, so yeah, that's pretty gay. And I don't know what am I going to rate the gayness? It's gay. That's it. So, the last movie, the last movie I really wanted to discuss, and then I had more to discuss afterwards, is The Lost Boys. That's right, 1985's The Lost Boys. The Lost Boys is pretty gay, and me and my brother love this movie. We've watched this movie 1,000 times when we were kids, and when we were kids, we asked our mom. We were like, "Was everybody gay in the '80s?" Because in the movie, and we asked this because we watched it so many times. We were like, "There's a lot of gay stuff in this movie," and we asked our mom, and she was like, "I don't know, but this movie seems pretty gay." So that's just it. All right, we've watched it so many times. We just could feel the gayness radiating off of the Lost Boys, and me and my brother, I we're not gay people. I don't think so. I mean, I'm not outing him. I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about him. But he's had a girlfriend in high school, so that makes me make assumptions. Point is, thinking I I think it just comes out of the movie. I think it's literally radiating off the movie. I'm not making any statements. I'm not putting anything into the Lost Boys to make it more gay than it is. The Lost Boys is effing gay. I'm sorry. I mean, I got a whole list of it about here. So, okay. The Lost Boys. I don't know how much I gotta explain the plot, but basically, two brothers and their mom, after a divorce in the family. Their mom got divorced. They have to move out of town into this new town, Santa Carla, California. I think it's fictional. From Phoenix, Arizona. Ooh, which is interesting, but whatever. So they're moving from Arizona to Santa Carla. Santa Carla is a spooky town, all right? It is full of a bunch of dirty runts, and it's the murder capital of the world. And we find out the reason that is because it might be full of vampires. Snap, oh geez. Okay, so this is spoilers for The Lost Boys because, come on, if you haven't seen The Lost Boys, just go watch it. It's an '80s vampire movie. Anytime I say that, I don't think you need anything else. Just the words '80s vampire movie should be enough to sell you on the premise alone. So just go watch it. All right, come back. You back? Okay, good. Okay, so this is why I think The Lost Boys is super gay. There's a scene, and it's the key scene. Okay, this is the key scene to break it all down. The scene where Sam is laying in his room. First of all, there's like a poster on the wall with a guy like holding up his shirt halfway on the wall. That seems pretty gay. But then his mom comes in. She's sort of like basically tucking Sam into bed, just sort of being like, "All right, how's it going? All right, good night." And then before she leaves, the closet's a little left open, and Sam's like, "Mom, could you?" And then his mom's like, your father. I hate to admit this, but one of the reasons I divorced your father, he never believed in the closet monster. And then the grandpa comes out, whoa! And then he comes out with a taxidermy beaver, and he sticks it on the side of Sam's mantelpiece thing or whatever, or nightstand. And Sam tries to go to bed, but the beaver is staring him down. And so he gets up, takes the beaver, shoves it in the closet, shuts the closet. Now, is this a metaphor for Sam being in the closet? Is it a metaphor for Sam killing the idea of female genitalia in his mind? I don't know. Now, but here's another thing. Now, you might be like, well, I don't know. That seems a little, I don't know. Let me put in some more things here. In my head canon here, what I built up, basically, or what I've come to terms with possibly, is that what if Sam is gay, but perhaps Sam doesn't know he's gay yet? And this is me. I'm not trying to make up headcanon, but this is just what I'm sort of like inferring based on what I watched. What if Sam's mom basically realized my son's gay? He doesn't necessarily know it yet, but he's gay. And maybe their dad didn't agree with that and she wanted a divorce from them. And who even knows if it was their dad? It could have been. No, yeah, it was their dad. So they move and they come back over here or to Santa Carla. So I'm thinking, so what, they got a divorce because the dad doesn't like the fact that he's gay. And then later in the movie, Michael is confronted by their mom, and the mom is like, you could tell me anything. And then Michael is like, look, just don't think. And she's like, I won't understand. And I don't think necessarily that Mikey being a vampire mean that he's gay. And this is something that I think is in contention. I don't know. This is what a lot of people are when they try to think of The Lost Boys as a movie that is about gay people or gayness. They always try to use the vampires as the metaphor for being gay. Not quite. I don't always like the idea of, you can't just put the metaphor right there smack dab in the face. I don't think being a vampire means you're gay, but I think the idea of having to secretly be a vampire and holding that information is a metaphor for being in the closet. It's a metaphor for you know, being something different that you didn't know, or that that you just don't know how to let other people know about. And when people try to think about like the idea of the Lost Boys and like their little gay club, potentially, I do think David is gay, basically. But I think him being gay and them being vampires are technically two separate things. But, and I only say that because in this scene when the mom is fishing for information from Michael, I'm thinking about it through the lens of, okay, she thinks or knows that one of her sons is gay, and now she's maybe being confronted with the information that, well, what, maybe Mikey's gay too. And I think it's more interesting the idea of maybe Mikey just isn't gay, but he's a vampire. When I like that the scene plays a little different in your head if you think about it, of the mom sort of trying to expecting him to come out, and actually it's like something completely different. He's a monster. He's a creature of the night. So yeah, there's that. Now, also though, I don't. I feel like when some people hear this thing, they're like, "Oh, this movie is about this." All movies are about a variety of different things. It's not like, even with Drive Away Dolls, it's not just about being gay. There's just a heavy theme of gayness. I think Drive Away Dolls is more about sexuality in general and being comfortable with it or not being comfortable with it. Challengers, similar, and it's the same thing. It's like being comfortable with your sexuality, being honest with yourself to where your true desires lie. That's another thing. That's another theme, and those themes are universal. With The Lost Boys isn't just about being gay. It's also about there's class issues. There's definitely a thing about like There's no good jobs. They're illegal. Everybody sort of seems to be struggling. It's hot. All this jazz. And also Max. The idea of Max. He seems kind of yuppie-y. And I feel like there's definitely an idea of like richness and vampires. I think vampirism does best involving class or sexuality. Fright Night is a great example of that. Fright Night is about, I think that's about straightness. Like, that's a straight sexuality thing, but it's also about masculinity. And the idea of being like, well, am I a man if I'm not ready to have sex with my super hot girlfriend? That's basically what stinking Fright Night is about. Effing unlock your brains, fellas and ladies and everybody. I want to mention a few other movies that are gay. Jennifer's Body is pretty gay. The new Evil Dead Rise is pretty gay. Morgan Davies is a trans actor, and he's a great actor. He was great in One Piece as Kobe. Yeah, man, One Piece, live action One Piece, so good. I haven't seen Moonlight yet. I just did the video for Damien Chazelle where I watched La La Land. I thought, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to watch Moonlight. I will be watching Moonlight, but I want to do a deep dive on Perry Jenkins or Barry Jenkins. I'm probably not going to see The Lion King 2, but I do want to do a deep dive on Barry Jenkins. What else? Bottoms came out last year. That's also really gay and also very funny. And also, I wanted to talk about this sexuality in film and how it is portrayed and who is doing it and what. Because there's online, there's this big discussion about sex scenes and who should be doing sex stuff in movies and all this jazz. And I just don't think we're thinking about it in a way that is healthy or productive. Because like there are people who are like, what do you do? Like, we shouldn't have any sex scenes. Sex scenes don't add anything to a movie, the movie's plot or whatever. And there are other people who are like, well, it doesn't matter. The movies are being sexless, and if we're sexless in media, it's going to translate to being sexless in life. Both in I disagree with that in general. I agree with it. Like, if people aren't being shown, cleaner examples of sexuality through media in a variety of ways that is commercial, then they are going to be further sanitized. Like, and it just becomes more of an issue. If anybody's worried about population, which I don't think we need to be worried about population, but if anybody was worried about that, you're going to need some sex in your movies and TV. Sorry, but whatever. Beyond that, though, I think we need to be thinking differently about who are telling sexual stories, because I think one issue is we have had so long, if and so many of male gaze, straight male visions of sexuality in film, and that's fine, I guess. But when people are talking about like sex in film being exploitative, or I don't even know, like, or even desensitizing. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think what we need is different angles of sexuality from more women filmmakers, more gay filmmakers. Joel Schumacher is gay, who directed The Lost Boys also. But Ethan Cohen he's married to a woman. I don't think he's gay, but he wanted to tell a story about gay characters. Challengers, Luca Guadagnino, he I don't know if he's gay. I haven't looked into it, but he made "Calling Me by Your Name," which is very gay. And thinking, I think of Saltburn, Emerald Fennel. Saltburn, so sexy looking, so gay looking, and she's a woman, but she's doing something very homoerotic with her filmmaking. I think we need more sexual themes from female and gay writers and directors. They better, not even better. They just have a different perspective of how we view like desire and sensuality that we don't get to see in movies that much, ever, at all, in some movies these days. And so I think if we're going to tap into new wells in more healthy ways, we need to see more from those perspectives. And that's not to say we don't need to see more male points of view of sexuality in film, but I do think uh, if we're going to look at any of it differently, we need to let different people show their perspectives more often. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. Those movies were gay. This is a gay conversation. This is Pride Month, a conversation for everybody. Sound off in the comments if you're mad, or if you're happy, or whatever. I don't really care. This is definitely a complicated conversation, and I want I want you to argue about it in the comments. Get me more views. Get me more views, please. Like, comment, subscribe. If you like this, watch any of my other videos. You'll probably like those too. I usually do director deep dives. This one is more just a general pick and choose type of thing. But please go follow me at just here. Just watch my videos and like them, please. Thank you. Goodbye.